Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's another video in our Canvas Crash Course series. I'm like, do I need to change series? Because, really I'm just talking about a bunch of Canvas stuff. I'll change it at some point. But anyway, if you're just learning Canvas, hopefully the videos I share, regardless of what the series title is, are helping you. Tonight is another viewer request. I really do read what you guys write, and I try to comment back to as many as possible. I'm like, oh my word, it's overwhelming. So if I didn't comment back to you, I'm trying. But one person asked me, can you talk about quizzes? I had somebody say, can you talk about quizzes for little kids? I might try to give some thoughts on that as I go through. The process will be the same. And then someone else just said, can you do an overview of quizzes versus new quizzes? So that's what I have for you tonight. Stay tuned. I'm going to start by giving you a little tip about quizzes in general. If you know you are giving a quiz on paper, like you're not asking your kids to answer anything in Canvas, then don't use the button that says quizzes. So it's somewhere down here. Don't use this button at all, because then Canvas will be waiting for you. It'll show it as missing because it's waiting for your kids to submit something that they're never going to submit. The same thing with when you go into an assignment, if you accidentally have it toggled to, let me go there. If you have it toggled to, wait for it, that you're waiting for an online submission, Canvas is going to be waiting for something that's never going to come. So if you're strictly creating a quiz on paper and then you need a place to record your grade, create that as an assignment and then no submission. Okay, so I can still call it quiz. It could be called whatever I want it to be. Sure, run-ons and comma splices. Let's just pick that. And I can call it quiz. It can count as a quiz in my grade book, whatever category system you're using. But if you're going to give a quiz on paper, don't call it a quiz in Canvas, if that makes sense. The title can say that, but don't use the quiz builder. The quiz builder is I want you to receive and answer back the questions within Canvas. So we're going to get into two different ways that you can actually have auto grading or partially auto graded quizzes in Canvas. But if you know you're just giving a quiz on paper, just call it quiz, put it in your assignments the regular way. Outfit change and toddler in the background. No, it's a different time when I'm recording this. But anyway, I'm going to dedicate a whole video to new quizzes. I tried to squish it in with old quizzes, and it just is too much information. So stay tuned if that's the one you're hoping for. The Canvas quiz creation tool encompasses several different areas, but you're going to mainly focus on the details and the questions tabs. So right now we're going to take a tour through the details tab. It's always important to give your quiz a name, and again, this can be a digital worksheet you're making, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a quiz, but I'm going to call this one Fahrenheit 451 quiz. Okay. The details box has always been important because you don't want parents to see no content. You want them to be able to help their students, but on a quiz, it has an added benefit. If you can think of any resource that students will have to use over and over throughout the quiz, I'm going to think of a few. A map, a diagram, a word bank that students will need to access, some directions that kids might need over and over again, a reading passage. If there's anything that you know a significant portion of the test will be dependent on, go ahead and put it in your main rich text editor, your details window, so that it will follow students throughout the quiz. This box follows throughout the quiz. You can also add images here. Anything you've ever been able to do in a rich text editor, you can do right here. You can attach files or images, whatever you need to do. But I'm just giving you some ideas of different resources that you could use. A map they might need to refer to, a diagram, a formula sheet. I can add that one here too. But any of those things they might need over and over again, put them right here. Down below, you will see quiz type. Now, Canvas has 4 types of quizzes. We're going to focus in this video on graded quiz, although there's also a practice quiz, and there are 2 types of surveys. I have more details available on that. If you need them, just let me know. You're going to then pick the category in which you want this to be graded. So mine is truly a quiz, and I don't have a quiz category in this pretend class, but I'll put it in test. But you could, again, make it a digital worksheet, graded as classwork, homework, whatever works for you. You're just using the quiz builder to let Canvas know you want it to grade some of it or all of it for you. Okay? Down below, we begin the Choose Your Own Adventure section. You can choose or not to have answers be shuffled. I mostly recommend that because students sitting near each other with devices or computers may want to look over and see what Johnny is putting for choice A. And so you can shuffle the answers so that at least they have different choices. You don't have to shuffle, and here's where you might not want to. I'm going to show you in a few minutes where you could record
the audio for your students. So if you have English language learners or students with special needs or students who can't focus, you can record audio of the questions and answers. Well, then if you shuffle them, that may not be a good idea. So you can do that or not. You can give them a time limit or not. If you know your quiz is going to take the whole class period, then you may not want to give a time limit. If it's just a little short reading quiz, you might give 15 minutes and then move on to other things. Totally up to you. You also have the option to unlock multiple attempts. Okay, you can decide how many attempts everybody's going to have. Or if you don't check this box, it's just unlimited. So if you want to give everybody 2 attempts, whatever works for you, which score do you want to keep, highest, latest, or average? But here's the deal. Right below that, the default is to let students see their correct answers. Well, if you allow multiple attempts and they can see the correct answers, just know that you're getting more mastery or formative data than like a summative data. So if you want your data to be indicative of what they know and remember, then you wouldn't want to allow multiple attempts. But these can be used in tandem very well as long as you're aware of what you're doing. What some teachers are choosing to do is allow multiple attempts, but then unlock the correct answers at a certain time. So maybe they're allowed to work on this all week. They'll see which ones they got wrong. They have a chance to go back and troubleshoot. But then right before the test, they're going to see that those correct answers have been unlocked. Another option you have down below is to show one question at a time. I really like that option. I think it's one of the best because when students are scrolling, especially if they're taking this on a small device, I don't want them to have to look at the resource, scroll down to the 50th question, scroll back up again. So it just keeps them from having to shuffle around so much on the screen. Totally up to you. You can choose to lock questions after answering. I just think that's cruel and unusual punishment because, I don't know about you, but when I get to question 20, I often have the inspiration of what the answer should have been on question number 2. So I like to be able to toggle back and forth. Totally up to you. Further options here require an access code. Of anything that I'm a fan of, it is this one. I really think you need access codes. So you can make it as crazy as you want to. @ capital R, little I, big G, whatever you want to make it. This access code ensures that only people who know the code will be able to take the quiz. So here's what I'm recommending. You are going to write this access code on your board or on your smart board. As soon as everyone is logged into the quiz, you're going to erase it. That means that no mama at home can take the quiz, no kid that's home being sick can take the quiz, and no one who's not in your class can take the quiz. Now, high schoolers are smart. They may think, I'm going to take a picture of the access code and tell my friend. So here's how you're going to be smarter. If you want to, you can change the access code in between classes. Don't try to change it while your current class is still working on the quiz. It will lock out anyone who's already in the quiz. So you would want to make sure that you changed it in between classes, and then they can't give it to another group. Filter IP address we're not ready for yet. Going down to assign, you still will assign it to whomever, you still will pick a due date, but you may not have been picking an availability window for assignments and pages and things like that. But for a quiz, I highly recommend that you at least open it at a certain time. It's up to you if you want to close it at a certain time as well. But you want to make sure that you, and I picked a random date there, but you want to not have it open in advance of when students are going to be allowed to work on it, okay? That is your details window. If you're panicky that may not save, you can go ahead and save right now, okay? You'll get the message saved, and then you'll go back into edit mode because we've only done the first of 2 tabs, and we're about to dive into the second one. So now that you've created the setup of your quiz, it will be saved at the bottom. You'll scroll all the way back up, and you're going to go now to the Questions tab. In the Questions tab, you have 3 options here. We're going to explore new question in great detail, but New Question Group and Find Questions are also powerful. New Question Group is once you have established question banks, which I'm going to teach later in this video, you can have the computer select for you and create basically randomized tests based on questions you've already created. So I can say, hey, select, I can show you a little preview here, but yours won't be ready yet. I can come in here and I can say, hey, I want to come into a question group, and I've got some funny titles here, but I have 7 questions in that bank. I want you to pick 3 of them. I want you to make them 10-point questions because I know I'm going to have more things on my test that'll add up to the other 70. I'm going to create the group. And now every kid's going to get 3 random questions that the computer's picked. Pretty cool. If you want to pick questions that you already created and pre-selected, like for example, you want to build a final exam or a unit test, then you can use this find questions. Again, this is after you've set up question banks, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But I can say, hey, I want everything I'm teaching on STDs. I want to select everything in that unit. And yes, I was at a high school when we created this topic bank. But I can pull all the questions or some from that group, and I can say, okay, add questions here. So those are some ways to pull questions you already have. But what about creating questions from scratch? You can come down here to the new question option. When you make a new question, you can title that question. I'm going to call it 1.1, okay, whatever makes sense to you, or you don't have to title it. You've got 11 choices currently, although we're about to enter quiz beta, hopefully soon, where kids will have more options that are interactive, like drag and drop and things like that. But right now, you can choose 11 different types of questions. Depending on what type you choose, there might be some setup involved. For example, fill in the blank tells you what you need to set it up as, or fill in multiple blanks tells you that you have to enter brackets and a reference word and gives you an example. So just be aware of the kind of question you're setting up and what it might require for Canvas to be able to grade it. But I'm going to stick with basic multiple choice for this demo. I'm going to go ahead and make my points. And so you always need to think ahead and say, okay, this quiz needs to have 100 points, just like any assignment, just like any rubric that we give in Canvas. So this is going to be a 10 question quiz. I'm going to make each question 10 points. Now you can see there are a couple up here that I need to go back and edit, so I will do that, okay? In this box, you write your question. You've got all your formatting tools. You can add pictures, everything you could always add. You can even embed something that's HTML. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to add a question here, and my question is going to be, why is this a great quiz? It's a wonderful question. And then down below, if yours does not show any answer boxes, you can come over here and say, add another answer. So I'm going to add at least 3. Why is this a great quiz? Susie made it. It grades for me. Both of the above, okay? Both of the above. I can't type. Okay? You have to tell Canvas as well what your correct answer is going to be. Sometimes it will default to be the letter A, but it doesn't have to be the letter A. If you hover to the left of any answer choice, you'll see a ghosted out green arrow, but if you click on it, it's going to make that answer the correct answer. If you need more room to define a correct answer, or you need to use an equation editor, you can hit this pencil, and even the answer can have its own little baby rich text editor. So anything you can do on any page, any assignment with this rich text editor, you can do here. But I just need some basic choices, okay? You also have feedback, and y'all, I think this is so important because typically as a teacher, I took a whole class period to go over a test. What a waste of time, because kids who did well had to hear the whole thing. Now, I'm not saying you're never going to have to pull a small group of kids that really struggle with the test and work on specifics with them, but using a whole class period to go over a test is just, should be in the past at this point. So let me show you what you can do instead. You are able to give students feedback. The green box, you probably guessed, is feedback that students are going to get if they have selected a correct answer. The red box will be if they had a wrong answer, and then the blue-gray will be just general comments I want everybody to see. Now, there are 2 ways to insert those comments. You can put an answer that's you can put feedback that's very specific to each answer, or you can do what I'm going to do, because ain't nobody got time for that, and I'm going to give general feedback. I'm going to start with my wrong feedback, okay? So if I want to know why this is a great quiz, this is really kind of a bad example, but I can go into my feedback window, and I can say, actually, both reasons were correct, because I know that they picked one or the other. And I can give them whatever feedback. Let's say that I was having them do something on a map and they couldn't identify where it was. I could paste a map here. I can add any kind of image. I can copy paste whatever feedback I would normally give out loud, I can give here in writing. Here's something even more fun to do. If you want to give correct feedback, they obviously know what the answer is, but I want to make it a little bit fun for them. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to search for a congratulations GIF or a meme. GIFs move, memes do not. I am going to go into my image search. If you hover over any meme, or over any GIF, it will show you what it does. Mine's just having a moment. So I'm going to click this little monster. He's really cute. And all I do is I right click, I copy him, and guess what? I can paste him in the box. And if kids get the question right, they get this little Muppet. Is he not the cutest thing? So happy feedback if you got it right, and then serious but important feedback if you got it wrong. Now y'all, this is so important. In addition to making sure your points are right, which is one of the key features of a quiz question, you also need to save the question with this little button, Update Question. You can make a fabulous quiz with 20 questions. Save the quiz, but if you have not saved the question, oh no, you've lost all of your questions. So I'm going to update question. I will know it's saved because look, it's in this collapsed view. I don't have any editing options anymore, and I can drag and drop these if I got them out of order, whatever needs to happen, okay? Now again, I would need to go back and adjust because my quiz right now is worth 94 points, okay? So let's just say I'm going to give an extra 6 points here and save myself some trouble. Come on. I'm clicking it. Okay, so I'm going to make that a total of 7 points, which I believe, then I'm going to update question, very important, and I believe now my quiz will be worth 100 points, okay? So now I am ready to save and publish. I'm going to save and publish because this isn't a faux course. But you could save, you could come back and work on it, whatever you need to do. Okay? I always recommend that you take your own quiz, and you do that by going to the preview button. It will give you also, if you needed to print the quiz, I know that there's some people in their IEP that may need a printable version. This is where you can come and snip the questions or whatever you need to do. But you can actually take your own quiz and see how you did on it. So I'm not going to make you watch me do that, but I will fast forward to the end. So just like magic, we are now looking at my completed quiz. I got some wrong answers, y'all, but don't judge. I was just quickly clicking through. But I now know that my quiz works and it does what I expected it to do. So now we're going to get into some quiz data in the next little segment.
Let's talk about the good data that you get after the quiz. So over to the right, you're looking at my quiz itself, but over to the right, you're going to see where it says related items. There are 3 objects there, or 3 titles. One of them is quiz statistics. Let's go into that one first and see what you can see there. Basically, it's going to give you an overall view of like standard deviation. Really, if you're a math person, you'll just geek out on it. But it's going to give you like your highs, your lows, whatever. But it'll also take you through every question as a whole. And you can see if most people answered wrong. So for example, this word something else. Most people answered that not the way I wanted them to. There's probably a flaw in the question rather than, than the kids themselves. Only 33% answered correctly. So that's some good data that you can have for building. And again, that's the very first option after the quiz. The second option after the quiz, and I probably should be circling these, sorry. The second one is called moderate. And this is my favorite button you can choose after a quiz. Let me show you what you can do there. You can see every kid, how long it took them to finish. If you know this was supposed to be a little bit longer quiz and kids are rushing through, or certain kids are rushing through, mine was kind of a silly quiz, so I'm not worried about it too much. You can even search for a certain person up here. I've got my pen in my hand still. This English teacher, Red, still follows me. But anyway, you can search for particular people, see what they did. But here's the best feature. It's over here. If I find any person's name, and these names have been expunged to protect the innocent, but if I click on a pencil, look what else I can do after a quiz. I can give extra attempts for a person. So let's just say this student, has come to me for help. There were some extenuating circumstances, or I know I need to make modifications for the student. I can give them extra attempts in addition to the one that everybody else gets or whatever. I can also let them see the results one more time. They're like, oh gosh, that went off my screen. I didn't get to pay attention. And maybe it's a quiz leading up to a unit exam or something. You can let them see the results one more time. And then finally, this last one I think has kind of a unique way that you can use it. Manually unlock the quiz for the next attempt. Maybe you're giving this kid multiple attempts, but they are not taking it seriously. They're rushing through, and they need to have a little come to Jesus, meet with a teacher kind of a moment before they take it again. You can be the gatekeeper and say, I want to manually unlock this quiz before the kid takes it again, fails it again because they're not trying very hard. Because extra attempts where the kid doesn't care really don't do any good, do they? and some more information that you can get about a kid. So if you click on that on a kid's name, okay, so I showed you how you could click a kid's the pencil, but if you click on a kid's name, you can go into this window and I'll show you everything they answered in particular, which might be good to know, like what is this kid messing up on, how can I help, maybe a parent's asking that information. But then you can use this magical button right here called view log, and when you do, it'll take you into a window where if you see any red X's, I'm not going to say this is the end-all be-all, but it semi-indicates, I probably should be erasing here, sorry, I know these are getting in the way. It semi-indicates that that kid has gone out of the Canvas window for a reason and come back. Now, I know that I have been familiar with the Respondus Lockdown browser before, and if you have that integration or any other integration of like a lockdown, then maybe this isn't an issue for you. But if you don't have a lockdown browser turned on and you want to know, you're like, this kid's really acting suspicious or took way longer than everybody else to do the quiz, and I don't think it was, you know, it was a short quiz or something, then you might have a reason to go check what you're looking for. Red X's. Now, I wouldn't use those as your be-all, end-all again. I wouldn't rely on this as being 100% accurate, but if you were suspicious of a kid, needed proof that a kid was doing something you already knew they were doing, then this is certainly something you could pull on a kid, is their action log by clicking View Log on a kid's particular results. Finally, the third thing you can do after a quiz is you can go to SpeedGrader. I'm not going to demonstrate that here. That's probably going to be a separate video. But the SpeedGrader will allow you to give all kinds of feedback, you know, where you can draw on, mark up, you know, do all kinds of things. But if the kid had submitted, maybe it's a quiz where it's part multiple choice and has some short answer in it that you need to give feedback on, you can view those parts of the quiz in the SpeedGrader if needed. I don't know if you're a filing cabinet person or a digital filing cabinet, OneNote person, or I don't know how you store your files, OneDrive, whatever, Google Drive. But I can't imagine, and I've seen people like this, but I cannot imagine opening my filing cabinet just to go old school. And there are no manila folders in there, no, you know, the little accordion files, none of that's in there. It's just every piece of paper of everything you ever taught is just thrown in there. Now, some people's computer desktops do look like that, but, you know, that's a different subject. But I can't imagine that being very, very efficient at all. And so when we just create quiz questions, like a one-off, I create a quiz, all of those questions are being accumulated in a question bank, but they're being accumulated in a way that's not organized or efficient at all. So let's look at where those questions go. First of all, if you want to start using the question bank, which will organize your questions, we'll tag them with categories, and will make it really easy for you to make cumulative tests or final exams, you're going to go into your quizzes menu. So you'll see on the left, let me get a little highlighter here or something. You'll go into your quizzes menu. That's the worst color in the world. Okay, let me do this one instead. Go into your quizzes menu. Y'all, I cannot write tonight. And then you're going to click the little gear up here, and then you'll see Manage Question Banks. Y'all, I forgot I'm on a touch screen. There I am trying to draw with the mouse. Moving on. And then once you do that, you're going to see a list of any course banks you've created. But if you've never used this feature, which is probably why you're watching the video, you will have a list or two of unfiled questions, okay? And what you're going to do is before you try to file anything, you have to add a question bank. So think of something you teach a lot for which you could have possibly a big stack of questions. So for me, I'm thinking about novels I used to teach. I was an English teacher, so I used to teach Speak, or if I want to make a new bank, I'm going to name it Nothing But the Truth. So I went to Add Question Bank. I'm giving it a name. Here's a real pro tip. You want to click the Enter button to lock that in. I think about 6 times when I was first learning this that I kept clicking off of the name of the bank and it would not save. I'm like, oh. So if you'll just click Enter, don't touch any buttons, type the name, click Enter, it will save for you. And then what you will do is you'll go into that unfiled questions. Remember, we saw that on the previous screen. Go into unfiled questions and click right over here, Move Multiple Questions. It will ask you which questions to move, so you're probably going to have a big stack if you've been using quizzes just willy-nilly, like that filing cabinet with no folders. But that's okay. Do this one time, get in a good habit, and maybe you can, you know, do it for the future. Create your questions from the question bank, then pull them into quizzes would be a better workflow. So in the future, we'll do that. But for now, let's clean up the mess. We have questions we need to move. We just would put an X in the box, okay? And then it would ask you where you want to put them. Okay, so if those relate there, I'd move them, click the blue button, and then they will move for you. And then you will have, I think I skipped a step here, but that's okay. And then what can you do with them? Well, if you're on a quiz that you've already made, you can go into edit mode. And if you'll scroll below the questions you've already made, you'll see this button, Find Questions. I showed you that in a previous segment. But when you go to Find Questions, it'll allow you to tap the category. And y'all are going to laugh at my categories on some of these because I was working with high school teachers. But you can click that category and then you can select all the questions or a few questions. And then, did you like the video? Well, there's an easy way to show that on YouTube. There's a little thumb right below here. If you would like it, I would appreciate that. It helps YouTube to help other people find the videos. What's even better than that is if you share it. So tweet about it, share it on Facebook. I've seen a lot of you giving me shout outs in different Facebook groups, and I'm so appreciative of that. And then finally, here's my biggest compliment. If you would subscribe, that means that you're going to keep coming back for more. You can even click the little notifications bell so that you never miss a video. Hope you enjoyed it.